thanks to all the vendors that came to make this event what it's going to be, and hopefully everybody enjoys the presentations we have for you today. First thing I'd like to do is, as Kincardine in the area, I would like to acknowledge that Kincardine, the land that we reside upon and do business in, is the land of the traditional territories of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. It is our current understanding that this land is made up of communities including the Nehwashname and Saugeen First Nation, and is formerly known as the land of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nehwash. This includes the Anishinaabe people, who are made up of the Ojibwa, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, also known as the Three Fires Confederacy. Land acknowledgement is but one step of the important and necessary process of reconciliation with the Indigenous peoples of Canada. Again, I'd like to welcome everybody here, and first off, I'd like to ask Mayor Craig to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you. Our thanks are extended to the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this successful aging forum. And for the longest time, I got to tell you, I'm not even sure why I'm here, because I'm only 14 from here up. But the rest of me averages out to the age that I actually am. So unless I miss my guess, most of us here still think we're 14, 16, 18. But we need the valuable services that are offered by these vendors and many others to have this great retirement opportunity. So I have to tell you that yesterday I was at a conference up at the Bruce Energy Center. It was hosted by the Clean Energy Frontier, and it talks about the innovative processes and pathway that the nuclear industry is taking, along with medical isotopes, and the great difference it's making in people's lives. And I had this conversation with a gentleman, and he said, well, I work at Georgian College, and we talk about progressive AI and virtual reality and blah, 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 blah. And about 3 sentences into it, it's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. It is, woohoo, it's gone, I have no idea. But then I got thinking about my grandfather. My grandfather was born in 1899. His name was Ellis Gazel. He was a policeman and a painter in the booming town of Ripley. And I thought about his life, and when you're born in 1899, there's no phones in Ripley, there's no TV, there's, it was 1899. But through his lifetime, he saw phones and cars and TVs and men on the moon. And I thought, wow, how do you put up with that change? How do you accommodate and process that change? And but then you stop thinking about the paint industry. And it was a really simple thing. Nowadays, vendors will tell you, like, you can make any color you want. You give me a can of white paint, and you put in with our computer technology, we put in 2.5 drops of green, 1/4 of a drop of this, and you make it into a color. Well, Grandpa's system wasn't maybe quite as technologically advanced. You put it under this lazy Susan sort of thing, and a can would spin around. I need 2 pumps of that. Grandma, can you send me over? Oh, I put in 4 pumps. Oh, well, that's okay. They won't know anyway. So the technology was there, but it's not quite as advanced. But the thing is, he went through his life learning new things, and that is exactly what we have opportunity to do today. We have opportunity to learn, to hear, to understand, to keep abreast as best we can of the changes going on, because it's hard to stop the change. So we need to understand where we are in the change. There's parts of the change that I will never use. No interest in them. Absolutely none. But I'll tell you what, if you want to go on a trip to Jamaica, like, crank up the heat in your apartment and put on your virtual reality goggles, and you're right there. Like, you can feel the breeze in your face and the splash. You can hear the seagulls flying. Like, there's things that are amazing that we can use if you choose to do so. So this is a great day. You get to pick and choose. You get to be the boss of your life right here. This is what I need to know. This is what I don't need to know. This is what makes Kincardine a great place to live and retire and be part of family. So thank you for being here. Once again, thanks to the Chamber, thanks to yourself and the vendors, and I hope that you have a great day here at the Aging Successfully Forum.
Welcome, everyone. I think I've spoken to or I've emailed just about every person in this room. So if you're wondering who Tammy Schneider was, the person you've been chatting with, that's me. So welcome to our Successful Aging Seniors Forum and happy National Seniors Day. We're so happy to have you out here today. Before we get started with today's program, I have a few housekeeping issues that I wanted to take care of, and then we'll get started. Washrooms are located out that back door over there and to your right-hand side, right out of the exit side. In the unlikely event that we had to vacate the room quickly, of course we have exits in all the corners, so in a mannerly fashion, pick up your things and exit out, and everyone will be fine. I want to thank our speakers today, and you'll get to meet them shortly, so I won't dwell on that. First of all, I'd like to thank our event sponsor, Meridian Credit Union. They're down here in the corner. They've been amazing helping us put together this event. Thanks, Meridian. I also want to thank Trillium Court Retirement Residents for their sponsorship. Lake Huron Audiology over here in the corner. And the Municipality of Kincardine. Thanks, everyone. We also received sponsorship from Micro-Age Basics, McDonald's, Watercress Bistro, and of course our community partners, Bruce Power, EPCOR, and Reliance Home Comfort. We're going to draw prizes throughout the morning between speakers and at the end of the event, so make sure that you hang on to those little red and white tickets that I gave you, and they'll be used for draws throughout the morning. If you didn't get one, come back and see me at the registration table and we'll make sure that you've got a ticket entered in. Our prize sponsors today are Dairy Queen, The Bookshop, Watercress Bistro, McDonald's, Lisa Thompson, MPP, provided those beautiful blue bags, Godfather Pizza, and Hive & Hope. And with that, it's time for our first speaker. Our first speaker is Nadine Vanden Heuvel, and she is a lady boss. She's an elite fitness professional, a trainer, a speaker, a mom, an author, a wife, and she's also the owner of Kincardine and Goderich Fit Body Bootcamp and Fit Body Forever. She has over 17 years of experience in the health and fitness industry. Nadine and her team have trained thousands of people since she opened her 2 facilities over 13 years ago. Her numerous certifications, specializations, and experience make her a passionate expert on aging and functional fitness. And no matter where you are on your fitness journey, Nadine and her team partners are there to help you transform with your current abilities to keep up, stay sharp, and do more of what you love. Please welcome Nadine Vanden Heuvel.
Good morning. Thank you. We're excited to start off today. So as Tammy mentioned, my name is Nadine Vanden Heuvel. I want to start off today with a story. I remember going into a coaching session here at my Kincardine facility. It was just days after losing my dad, just days after his funeral. Suddenly, tragically, to a snowmobile accident. I was welcoming a new member to our program. He was so excited to get started. He was there bright and early before the 5:15 a.m. And as we do with any normal new member orientation, I asked them to fill out a liability form, which includes their date of birth. We go over what their specific goals are, what brought them in. The thing that was different about this orientation was the birth year of this gentleman. The same birth year as my dad's. I paused. I was angry, frustrated, sad. But on the other hand, I was also happy. I was excited about the opportunity that I could change this man's life to make sure that he was around for all those core memories with his grandchildren. Because my dad wasn't there to walk me down the aisle when I got married. He wasn't there and isn't there to play with my kids. So today, I want to share with you things to make sure that every single one of us are here for as long as possible, for the long haul. To keep up, stay sharp, and do more of what you love. Because age should not determine your ability. My name is Nadine Vandenheuvel. I'm the owner of Goddard and Kincardine Fit Body Forever and Fit Body Boot Camp. I'm a mom of 2 young, beautiful girls that keep me on my toes, a wife, a personal trainer for over 17 years, and a business owner for over 13 years. And I want to share with you today, I want to start today off to discuss the aging trajectory. Over here on this graph, on the left-hand side, we have our functional capacity. So these are the things that we can do when we want to do. To be able to do those things without wondering if we can. And at the bottom is our number of years, our age. So, as you can see, at the beginning, the growth cycle is pretty even, and then we peak at about our mid-30s. Then the aging process really starts to change. And so you'll see on the blue line and the red line, there's becomes quite a big difference in the aging process. So you'll see on the blue line, these individuals will be able to basically do what they want for as long as they want. Maybe need a little bit of care the last week or 2 of their life. Maybe they'll just go to sleep and not wake up, which would be quite ideal in terms of the end of our lifespan. Whereas the red line, you'll see quite a big difference in aging. About our mid-50s is where you're going to really see that. And I'll talk more about today as to how we can make sure that we stay on that blue line for as long as possible. But here on this red line, that's going to be the line where there's going to be a lot more disability, disease happening, a lot more care maybe in the last 5, 10, or even more years of your life. Not probably a life that most of us want to live where we need a lot of care. So, as I mentioned, I want to share with you my secrets that aren't going to be too secret at the end of this. The number one, I want to stress for every single one of you is the importance of building strength. The amount of clients that I have go through our program and say, yeah, I walk lots, and that's great. I'm so proud of you. But building strength is the power source here. so that you can pop up off the floor and take on any daily activities without any issues. The ability to have strength is really going to be the cornerstone of this chat today. That red line that I talked about, all of us, many of us who have any type of inactivity will be on that red line. And some of us might not actually understand or know much about what keeps us on that red line. And that is what sarcopenia is. Put up your hand if you guys have ever heard of this word before. Okay. And I think that that was really the biggest interesting piece of it, is that, 11, 12 years ago, I had never heard of this word before. And the amount of research that my team and I have uncovered and learned just over the last 5 years about what this is every one of us is experiencing a level of muscle loss as we age. To the degree is completely up to you. And that's what I want to make sure that you guys understand. You have the power to make a change in that red line, to stay on that blue line for as long as humanly possible. Sarcopenia can begin and onset as early as age 30. It causes 10% loss in muscle mass after the age 40. 1 out of every 3 adults over 50 suffer from sarcopenia. And the best thing is, sarcopenia is treatable without medication. We want you to be able to do the things that you want to do for the long haul. So if we stay inactive, we're going to be staying on that red line. But what keeps us on that red line is the loss of strength, which is sarcopenia. And the reason why it's such a big deal, besides the obvious of getting weaker and not being able to do those things, is it's one of the primary yet indirect causes of the following diseases: diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's. So let's talk about our body like a car. Our body is like a car, and our muscles are the engine. The bigger the engine, the more power it has, the more up and go. Well, as we age, our engines will begin to shrink. And we end up on that red line over time. But as I mentioned, remember, we have the power to change that, to keep that engine powerful and strong without medication. So we chatted about the importance of why we need to build strength, and that we're all losing muscle year after year at a quite fast pace. So you're probably wondering, well, does this apply to me? Well, I'm going to get you up and moving. So I'm going to ask Melissa to come up and help me with this, and all of you are actually going to help me with this today, if you're able. So we do many assessments with our clients when they first start Fit Body Forever. 2 of which I'm going to ask you guys to participate in today. The first one is a 30-second chair stand. So we'll go over the details, and then I'll ask every one of you to participate if you're able. So we're going to sit in the middle of your chair, and you're going to place your hands on the opposite shoulders, crossed And you're going to keep your feet flat on the ground. Keep your back straight and keep your arms against your chest. When I say go, not yet, you're going to rise to a full standing position and then sit right back down. And you're going to do as many of those as you can for 30 seconds. Does everyone understand? Don't forget to count, okay? You guys got this. This is where I should have brought music. Sorry, guys. Brought my trusty stopwatch. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Great job, sitting all the way down and standing all the way up. Great work. Don't forget to count. Good job, Melissa. Keep going. We're just over halfway. As many as you can do. Great job. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, stop. Now remember that number. Oh, there we go. My mic just went out. Write it down. Thanks, Melissa. Great job, everyone. Feeling okay? The caffeine helped you, didn't it? All right. So let's see how. Let's see how you did. I have a good voice, but. Sarcopenia. We believe, sorry, that was my outside voice. We believe age should determine your ability. We need to understand that many of the diseases and chronic conditions associated with age actually have little to do with age. They begin in our youth or early adulthood due to poor lifestyle choices and don't reveal themselves until later in life. Years of maybe poor diet, lack of sleep, insufficient exercise, constant stress, they eventually take a toll. Let's move on to my second secret, boosting stamina. So you'll be able to play with your great-grandkids or great-grandkids when you want, and be ready to do it again all the next day. Everyone's looking for that quick fix. Science has determined that the closest thing to the actual fountain of youth is vigorous physical activity. So I'm going to share with you how to prevent sarcopenia. In list of importance, the first thing I urge you and encourage you is functional resistance training. 2 to 3 times per week. That is your number one thing that you can do to prevent sarcopenia. 30 to 45 minutes, 2 to 3 times per week, some sort of resistance strength training. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of people that are like, Nadine, I walk all the time. That's great. That's amazing. But the number one thing that you can do, some sort of intentional strength training 2 to 3 times per week. The second thing, adequate daily intake of protein. And that's a whole nother conversation that I could have I could talk for a whole day. And I don't have enough time today, but pop by our booth and we can chat more about it. That's another big struggle that we have with a lot of our clients when they first get started, is making sure you're getting enough protein to help build that strength in that muscle. And lastly, is your overall weekly activity, which is like you're walking. You're walking along the beach, playing pickleball, that daily activity that you want throughout the week, 225 minutes throughout the week. So resistance training, strength training, 2 to 3 times per week, making sure you're getting enough protein, and more of your daily activity, such as walking. And the last secret, increasing stability so that you can reduce or prevent the chronic aches and pains that are keeping you from doing what you love. I find a lot of people, we ask, what are you most concerned about when starting a fitness program in terms of like, what do you want to work on? This is a very common one that we hear from a lot of clients. This is put throughout our program. And so this is making sure that you are being intentional about working on your stability. And the thing is that if you feel unstable, you might not want to do things, and then it's just a bad cycle going the opposite way. So the 3 secrets that we covered today all makes up our Fit Forever formula: building strength, boosting stamina, and increasing stability. When you mix them all together, it's that perfect formula to make sure that we are slowing down and preventing sarcopenia and staying on that blue line so that you can continue to do the things that you want to do for the long haul. Here's a couple of images and pictures of our clients here in our program. And I want to end off today by giving you 2 gifts. First off, I want to thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for wanting to improve yourself, to listen, to be safer. All the speakers today are here to add value. And if you think that our program could be a good fit, great. Come by our booth. I want to give each and every one of you a digital copy of the book that I released back in 2016, Fit Body for Life, so that you can maybe get some answers that will help overcome challenges that you're facing right now, or the ones that you can prevent yourself from. And I've also included 4 workouts that you can do right from home. And the second gift, I invite you to come and join our program. Reserve a spot for $5. I'm going to save you $129 today. Do a 21-day trial to get started with our program. Just pop by our booth. And remember that you can also test your grip strength over at our booth to see how you pan out on that one in addition to your chair stand. Know that each and every one of you guys, you don't need our program. And I say that absolutely, you do not need our program to prevent sarcopenia. I don't care where you go, I want to just make sure that you do it. Make the commitment to improve yourself with strength training throughout the week so that you can have those memories that I didn't have with my dad. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nadine, that was amazing. So next we have Megan Garland and Angela Jensen, and they're here to talk about Bruce County Age-Friendly Committee and Grey Bruce Elder Abuse Prevention. Megan currently serves as the Director of Long-Term Care and Senior Services for Bruce County and is responsible for the operation of 2 long-term care homes, Bruce Lee Haven Walkerton and Gateway Haven in Wyerton. She is a seasoned leader in long-term care and health systems with over 2 decades of experience in senior leadership roles. Megan is known for her outstanding leadership and knack for building strong teams. She values respect and encourages staff to go above and beyond. She's demonstrated ability to strategize and foster a culture of compliance, excellence, and enhances the care we provide to seniors in Bruce County. Angela Jensen has been a staff lawyer at the Grey Bruce Community Legal Clinic since March of 2021. She's currently working full-time on a project funded by the Law Foundation of Ontario to give information to seniors about legal issues that are particularly important as people age. Angela was a social worker who specialized in working with seniors for 14 years before she went to law school. And Angela is the chair of the Grey Bruce Elder Abuse Prevention Network. Please welcome everyone, Megan and Angela.
So good morning, everyone, and thank you. Is my volume okay for everyone? It's my pleasure to start off the presentation and share a little bit about Bruce County's Long-Term Care and Senior Services Department. As Tammy had shared, we have 2 long-term care homes. One is Bruce Lee Haven in Walkerton, and the other one is Gateway Haven in Wyerton. In total, we care for 244 long-term care residents. Another part of the portfolio is senior services, and we have just started our journey to work on committing to building an age-friendly community across Bruce County. And why we feel this is important is that an age-friendly community enables all people to age well in the place that is right for them, continues to develop personally, be included, contribute to your community, and enjoy independence and good health. And how we're going to do this is we are working with the WHO Global Network. The WHO in 2010 established a global network for age-friendly cities and communities. The network's purpose was to connect cities, communities, and organizations worldwide with the common vision of making their communities a great place to grow old in. The network also established a framework that includes 8 interconnected domains that can help to identify and address barriers to the well-being and participation of older seniors. Those 8 domains are community support and health services, outdoor spaces and buildings, transportation, housing, social participation, respect and social inclusion, civil participation in employment, and communication and information. And how we're going to do this is we're going to use an age-friendly cycle that breaks down the work into 4 different categories. The first category is engage and understand. So that's setting up a committee, working with other service partners to determine what the community needs are. We plan to complete an assessment to determine what the seniors are looking for in our communities. We create a baseline profile, we share the findings that we've seen, and we gain political commitment to move forward to an age-friendly community. Then we take all that information and we set our plan. We take stakeholders and we start to build a common vision. We analyze our strengths and weaknesses, and we develop a strategy, and then we define who's responsible for what and how are they going to achieve this. And then we take action. We make an action plan, we get input on our plan from our seniors, we support resources, we implement our plan, and we start working up to scale up our successes. And finally then, we will measure and monitor any of the outcomes and the impact that the plan has created. And we continue to expand our partnership, and we continue to improve any additional action required. And then we share that out with our WHO network as well to share our successes in our local community. As I had indicated at the start, our age-friendly journey is just beginning for Bruce County, and one of the first steps was creating a committee. We have created a committee of over 20 representatives from organizations that support seniors and also seniors themselves. The committee has been formed since June 2024, and we are working on a couple of key initiatives that we'd like to share with you today. So we've been working on just forming our committee, which involves a terms of reference and creating guiding principles on how we're going to work together. But we have also worked with our community to develop a profile of the seniors of Bruce County. Additionally, we've been successful in receiving support from student engagement by the engagement of 2 Brock University students who are going to help us with community research and also completing our needs assessment. Finally, the committee has also agreed to work on an ageism community education program wherein we will work on developing resources for service providers to use to provide information on ageism, but also work with seniors to provide information on how to combat ageism. And third, the project will also be looking at doing education with other community members and intergenerational programs to, again, bring awareness to ageism and to start providing a dialogue within our community. We have a booth over there where we have some more information about what our community committee is working on, and also the long-term care homes. I welcome anybody to come over and have a chat and learn more about the community, or if you're so inspired to join our committee, please feel free to reach out. It's my pleasure to hand it over to Angela, who is also one of our committee members, who's going to share her work on elder abuse and how to protect yourselves.
Thanks so much, Megan. I'm going to talk this morning about the top 5 things that you need to know about elder abuse in order to protect yourself from experiencing abuse. And we're going to count them down starting at number 5. Number 5 relates to the work that Megan was describing around building age-friendly communities. One of the 5 things you need to know about elder abuse is that one of the risk factors is lack of community supports. Initiatives like the age-friendly community are so important because they are part of building community supports. When we don't have strong social services, health services, housing, older adults are at increased risk for abuse. There are some other risk factors as well. How many of you know which gender is more at risk of elder abuse? Do you have a guess? Men or women? Women. I hear a lot of people saying women. Yes, so your gender is another risk factor for elder abuse. Another one is poverty. 12% of our residents in Grey and Bruce counties live in poverty who are over age 65. So that means that if you don't have good income supports, you don't have the same resources in order to protect yourself, and it places people at higher risk of abuse. So you can hear that there are risk factors related to abuse, one of which is lack of community supports. But community supports is something we can do something about. So it's really important that if you are in good health and you have energy to contribute to your community, build stronger community services, that you're part of advocacy initiatives to build stronger services. You can't do much about your gender or your income, but community services is something we can do something about to prevent elder abuse. So that's one of the things to know, that community services is one of the risk factors. Number 4, in terms of top 5 things you need to know about elder abuse, is just how common elder abuse is in our communities. National research has found that 10% of people aged 65 and older experience some sort of abuse each year. So that means that if you're sitting in a room with 10 seniors, one of you has likely experienced some sort of abuse in the past year. It's shocking to think that abuse is that common in our communities. And it tells us that it is an issue on which we need to focus some resources and some attention. Third thing to know about elder abuse is that it is actually not a crime in Canada. How many people knew that we do not have a section in our criminal code that says you cannot abuse a senior? I saw Jane at Victim Services at the back. She's the one person in the room besides me who knew that elder abuse is not actually listed as a crime in our criminal code. There are parts of the criminal code that could apply in an elder abuse situation. So for example, there is a part of the criminal code that says that if someone has signed a document to give someone authority to help them manage their money, called a power of attorney, the person can't use that authority to take money from the individual. If they do, that's a crime. However, if you set up a joint bank account with someone and make them a co-owner of your money, whether you have power of attorney or not, then that law around the crime of misappropriation of money by a power of attorney is not applicable because you've made them a co-owner by adding them to your account as a joint account holder. There's a lot less the law can do when you put someone on your account as a joint account holder than when they're just a co-signer as a power of attorney, because as your attorney, they have certain rules they have to follow. As a co-owner on your account, it's a different situation. So it tells you that it's very important to know how the law works around things like substitute decision-making and how our criminal code is set up to protect us, so you know how to organize your affairs so that the law offers you options to protect yourself. Second thing to know about elder abuse is the most common type of elder abuse, so that you can be aware and vigilant to protect yourself. Anyone have a guess as to the most common type of elder abuse? I hear a few different answers. Financial is the most common form of elder abuse, and it takes many different forms. Sometimes in families end up taking money from older members of the family. It also takes the form of fraud and scams. I'm sure that everyone in this room at some point in time has gotten an email or a phone call that somebody is trying to persuade you to do something. in order to get money out of you. We have a document over at our table where Megan and I are sitting in the corner that has top 10 tips to prevent fraud and scams. If you follow the tips on that one-page sheet, it will give you options for how to organize your life so that you reduce the risk that you're going to be abused financially through a fraud or scam. So please drop by our table to pick up that tip sheet. The final thing, the number one thing that I want you to know about elder abuse is that the top thing you need to do to protect yourself from abuse is to have friends. And you might find it strange that I'm saying that's the top thing to do to prevent abuse because I'm a lawyer. You might expect me to say, know the law, know your legal rights as the top thing to do to prevent abuse. But I'm saying that number one is to have friends, because if you have friends, you have people in your life who will tell you the truth. They will tell you the truth if there's someone trying to take advantage of you, a family member, someone you've just met online who's declaring their love for you, someone who is making you a great investment offer, and they will also be people who will be worried about you, and they'll reach out to resource people like me to say, I'm worried about my friend. What can I do to help? So it's so important to keep social connections no matter what's going on in your life. Be part of community groups, talk with people on the phone, have pen pals, do whatever you need to do to keep up social connections, because if you have people in your life who care about you, you have done one of the most important things to protect yourself from abuse. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to talk about this topic. I would love to see the day that we don't have 10% of people aged 65 and older experiencing abuse. And if we talk more about this topic and how to protect ourselves, we can get that number down. So thank you so much for doing that today.
Thank you, Angela and Megan. That was wonderful. Thanks for joining us today. Right now, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Dr. Aaron Van Gaver has been participating as a naturopathic doctor for over 20 years. Recently moving back from Vancouver, he's landed in this beautiful community of Kincardine, where his parents, brother, niece, and nephews already live. Dr. Van Gaver has a general practice focusing on women's and men's health, with a strong focus on education and community health. His practice delivers a full range of personalized care to patients. Dr. Aaron cares about his patients. He works with Back to Maximum Wellness by supporting a healthy lifestyle, which includes optimum balancing of hormonal health, gut health, and mental, emotional health. Naturopathic medicine is best used when patients are feeling healthy. Not all of his patients are dealing with chronic complaints. The majority actually come to see him on a yearly basis in order to stay healthy, while others come in annually for a checkup, get routine blood work, and a physical exam if needed. I'd like to introduce Dr. Aaron. Come on up.
Instead was I put out some handouts on your tables. Now, I recognize they're pretty small. I did see a little reader thing over on, I think, the cooperators table there, so if you don't have your readers with you, it'll be a little difficult to find. Thank you so much for having me come. Before I begin, I just want to say that I moved my great aunt from Vancouver to Kincardine this summer. She's 86 years old. And so a lot of my presentation is really based on kind of the struggles that she's gone through. When I lived in Vancouver for 16 years, I would take her grocery shopping every Sunday. It was something I looked forward to, and she looked forward to. I moved back to Ontario 5 years ago and realized that she was all alone out there. And so we put her on a wait list to get housing. And my parents and myself got the call, I guess in the spring, that she had 2 months to move out. So it's been quite the experience navigating some of the services that are available in the seniors community. And so when I was asked to do this presentation, I did it because I wanted to draw on my experiences with my Aunt Wo, is what her name is. So I am Dr. Aaron Van Gaver. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I've been practicing for over 20 years, mostly in British Columbia. 5 years ago, right before COVID, I decided that I didn't want to retire. I grew old in BC. I actually have no family out there other than my Aunt Wo. My brother moved here 20 years ago to work at, if you can guess it, the nuclear power plant. And when my parents retired 10 years ago, they moved up here to be closer to my brother and the grandkids. So when I moved back, I decided to maybe give Kincardine a try. No, it wasn't for me. It was too small. And so I moved to Toronto, and then at the end of last year, I was like, no, I'm getting too old for the big city, and I was missing my nephews and nieces growing up, and I hadn't lived near them in probably 30 years almost. So I wanted to make a jump back, and Kincardine has welcomed me with open arms. There have been a few naturopathic doctors in Kincardine, and I was actually surprised when I opened the door. I'm working at Lighthouse Chiropractic with a bunch of chiropractors, and what normally would take 2 years to build a full practice, I've built 4 of them over my career. It took only a few months, so the Kincardine has really welcomed me, and this is me giving back. So, has anyone seen a naturopathic doctor, or even know what naturopathic medicine is? Show of hands. How many out here actually have no clue what a naturopathic doctor is? Good. There should be a few. The biggest difference between a medical doctor and a naturopathic doctor is mostly our approach. So our education, there's med school, there's naturopathic med school. It's a little bit different, but it's 8 years of training. I did a residency back in the early 2000s, but our focus is looking at the root cause. So looking at the whole person, we look at the symptoms like a headache, blood pressure, elevated blood pressure as symptoms. The body's trying to tell us something. And instead of suppressing the symptoms with a blood pressure medication, although it could be very useful, we would want to find out, well, why is your blood pressure elevated? And we know as we get older, men and women have different types of health concerns to focus on, and some of them are quite similar. And so what I want to talk about today is how to age healthy. There's health span and lifespan. A lot of people focus in on the lifespan, living as long as possible. But as Nadine pointed out, on that disability curve right there, if you're unable to do the things that you enjoy, what kind of life is that? So I want to focus in on something called health span, and that's living a healthy life as long as possible, doing the things that you love to do, enjoy doing. Everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Alrighty. So, health by the World Health Organization is defined as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. It defines healthy aging as the process of developing and maintaining the functional ability that enables well-being in old age. Things like being able to have a shower on your own. Right now with my Aunt Wo, we actually have the VON coming out, which she hasn't been assessed yet. So my mom goes twice a week, 3 times a week, just to make sure she doesn't fall when she gets into the shower. That's not something, I'm a 47-year-old man, that's not something I ever thought I would have to worry about, but that's the reality. Little things like not knowing how to use, we got her an air fryer. She had no idea how to use that. So teaching her some of those skills of how to do that. Functional ability is about having the capabilities that enable all people to be able to do what they have reason to value. We can't avoid the aging process. I do a lot of work with hormone balancing, and when we look at, I'm sure most of us, if not everyone, have gone for blood work at some point, and you see the blood work that you get, you have your tests that are ordered, your results, and that's always based on that reference range. Hormones are no different. There's a reference range, but there's a threshold. There's a lower and an upper limit. And as we get older, it's expected that our hormone levels decline. And they do. What I do a lot of work in is maintaining those hormone levels so that they decline not as rapidly as they would if you did nothing. And that can be helped with things like exercise. So Nadine at Fit Body Bootcamp did a little bit of an assessment for us. And I love what they do there. Their Fit Body Forever is a great opportunity for people older than 55 to get out there and build strength. Because strength and building, especially the lower muscles, help to preserve our hormones. In men, testosterone. And women as well. Believe it or not, women, you need some testosterone. One of the biggest issues that women face is osteoporosis or osteopenia. So osteoporosis is a decreased bone mineral density, and osteopenia is on the verge of getting there. And one of the biggest contributors to that, and the difference between women and men, is men have testosterone, which helps to maintain bone strength. Women don't. So a little bit of testosterone by doing things like lower leg exercises, building that strength can be amazing. Not to mention the effect of holding weights and carrying weight puts pressure on the bones, which forces them to remodel or stay stronger. You know, it's interesting, what's her name? Jane, I can't remember, my great aunt is the same age as this famous actress, Jane Fonda. Exact same age, and when I look at my Aunt Lo, and I look at Jane Fonda, I'm like, they're the exact same age, but they look very different. Now, of course, we don't all have the money of Jane Fonda, and I'm sure she's had a few cosmetic procedures, but she's very able, and there's no cosmetic procedure that can make you active. And it's a struggle for my Aunt Lo to get out. She has a walker. She doesn't want to go anywhere. She's afraid of falling because her mother, my great-grandmother, died of a hip fracture. So there's fear with that. And the last speaker talked about having friends. That social environment is so important. Having people that you can meet up with, play cards with, go swimming with, or go for a walk with. So that is one of the dimensions of, and you can see on the handout there if you've got it, there's the 7 dimensions of wellness and the environmental health. So what does our home look like? Is it allowing us to be able? Do we have people to socialize with? That's another one on there, social. Now my great aunt, her husband died 6 or 7 years ago, and she was all by herself in Burnaby, outside of Vancouver. And she's got an interesting personality. I would say she's not everyone's cup of tea. I love her to death. She's hilarious. But moving her here was really important because all of her family lives here. Another thing on here is the vocational or occupational health. Alzheimer's, dementia, cognitive decline, that's a real thing. And there isn't any disease that's worse for the family than someone who's struggling, than someone's family who has a loved one struggling with dementia. And so some of the things that are known to actually reverse or slow down the decline of the cognitive decline is novel things. Learning a new language, doing crossword puzzles, doing something you never did as a kid, learning how to knit, learning how to motorbike. I'm just joking about that. So keeping your brain active. As Nadine pointed out, physical health is really important. There is a diagram on there. If you get your readers on, you can, or at least I think maybe I did it. There should be a few exercises on there. Emotional. How do we connect? Do we go to church? Do we have a spiritual belief? Do we connect with the community? These things keep us younger, keeps us connected. I didn't realize how quickly 20 minutes went. I've got about 3 minutes left. The last thing I want to chat with you about, and I could talk for a long time about all this stuff, is diet and food and what we put in our mouth. Water. You need to stay hydrated. If you go and you pee right now for me, I talk about pee and poop all the time. If you pee for me, if your urine is bright yellow or orange, unless you're taking a B vitamin, which will turn your urine either yellow, you need to drink some more water. Okay, if you feel thirsty, you're probably thirsty. Now, of course, congestive heart failure, there's some conditions that you have to be careful, you have to limit your water intake, but for the most part, getting water is going to be important. Another thing is pooping. I normally, when I'm sitting with patients, and I wish I could pull it up right now, there's something called the Bristol Stool Charts. Anyone heard of it before? Anyone that's ever seen me as a patient has certainly seen it, because I'll ask them what their poop looks like. And, you know, I'm a naturopath, I talk about this, but a ripe banana is what a healthy poop looks like. And you should be pooping every day or every 2 days. And water and fiber is so important. And you can get Metamucil from the stores. Usually a teaspoon a day would be helpful. Or you can go to the bulk barn and get some psyllium, which is what Metamucil is. Of course, everyone is an individual, and I can't just say one recommendation for everyone. You need to take a look at where your health is at. And one last piece, just to say before I go, is the importance of, and I've said this so many times, connection. Connect to family, connect to friends, connect with your food, connect with your breath, connect with your body. Exercise, spiritual connection, vocational connection, emotional connection. All those things are really important. So I wanted to thank everyone for having me here today. Yes, I wear a ball cap when I'm at work. I'm in a small community now. If I were in Toronto, I definitely wouldn't. But this is who I am. This is how I feel comfortable. I've got tattoos. And, you know, I'm not a tie-wearing person. So if you were ever to want to ask some questions, I'm always available. My contact information is on the bottom. I do meet and greets. No charge for any of that stuff. It's just about connecting with the community. And I'm new to this community, so I need to meet some more people, and I'm happy to help. So thank you, everyone. This is Dr. Aaron Van Gaver. You guys have a great morning.
Thank you so much, Dr. Van Gaver. Yes, our next speaker. I want everybody to welcome Shane Watson, the Community Emergency Management Coordinator for the Municipality of Kincardine Fire Department. Shane was born, raised, and lives in Kincardine with his beautiful wife, Melissa, and his amazing daughter, Rayleigh, and many friends and family he's connected with over the years. He has been a firefighter for more than 10 years in Kincardine and more than 5 years as Community Emergency Management Coordinator. Shane makes sure all community members are taken care of, from Bruce Power to the Mennonite community and everyone in between. He's worked through emergencies such as COVID-19 with the Recovery Center, VAC Center, the protests and the Freedom Convoys, and the blizzard of 2022. Do you remember that one? To name just a few. Shane will be speaking about Kincardine's emergency management program and the resources available to the community, what they are working on, and how impactful the community is for all emergencies. Welcome, Shane.
Thanks, everyone. So I've asked Tracy to keep me on time because I like to talk a lot about this, and I'll be honest with you, emergency management does involve a lot of things. It involves us, it involves you, and basically like everything going on in your community. So who has been following Hurricane Helene? Yeah, everyone, right? So how many of you have looked at it? Like, it's obviously a terrible situation, but seen some of the people sitting in their roofs or you know, in their homes and they're seeing all this water go by? Anyone? A number of them, right? So I look at that with a different perspective now. My perspective is, why didn't those people heed the messaging? Why didn't those people heed the mandatory messaging? And there's a number of reasons. Maybe it's never happened to them before. That's something I hear. It's never happened before. It's never going to happen to us. That is simply not the case. And it's very much the same in Kincardine. Just look around us. We've had a number of tornadoes hitting all the municipalities around us. It is a matter of time. It might be 10 days, it might be 10 years from now that we get a tornado, but we have to prepare for these things. The rule of thumb is to plan for the worst and hope for the best. So what is an emergency? Someone tell me, what do you think an emergency is, like the definition of an emergency? Yes, sir. Loss of power, so that could be, but there's a number of things that could fall into an emergency, right? So that is a hazard for an emergency. Anyone else want to give it a go?
A fire.
Something unexpected, a fire, that is a type of a hazard for sure. Something unexpected. Anyone else?
Water supply.
Water supply, yeah. So we're talking about hazards. An emergency is a situation or impending situation that constitutes a danger of major proportions that could result in serious harm to persons or property, and that is caused by the forces of nature, a disease, or other health risk or accident, or an act, whether intentional or otherwise. So it's also an impending situation, and that's where my job comes into play here. We look at things that could impact Kincardine, and we plan for them, and we prepare for them, and we exercise those things. So what are our emergency services? Name them out. I talk to schools about this all the time. You already know it. There's 3 of them for sure. Fire, ambulance, and police. Yeah, and there's other ones too, right? Like public works. They'll be going out helping clear trees and things like that. But we have all sorts of first responders out there, and those are our boots on the ground. Those are our emergency services. All the time. I'm also, as Tracy was saying, I'm a firefighter, right? So constantly we do anywhere between 200 and 300 calls a year between our 2 stations. And a lot of them you might not even know about, but everyone has emergencies going on. So those are the ones that we can deal with. So here's my question. What is emergency management then? Yeah, that's actually a really good definition. So what she said was coordinating the emergency services. It's a little bit of coordinating, but it's more so helping them out when they've reached their capacity for resources to deal with something. Does everyone remember the laundromat fire? Okay, so that was very much in the capabilities of our emergency services. I was there, but we had other things that happened from that. We had the Scottish Fest happening right next door to it. We also had runoff from the laundromat that could have impacted the environment. So there's a number of things going on there. So in the background, regardless if you saw it or not, we had our leaders talking to each other and making sure that not only can we get the Scottish Festival going again, because if that doesn't go again, that could impact people's livelihood, but we want to make sure that the river's taken care of, property, environment, and the life. And that's what we worked at with a number of services that day. So yeah, your leaders are working in the background. They do this day to day, whether you believe it or not. We're trying to prevent emergencies through the 5 pillars in emergency management, which is prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. Typically, everyone thinks about emergencies as responding. Everyone can respond to an emergency. I can tell you right now, when I got to the fire department, I didn't know a lick about anything fire related. I knew it was a volunteer department and that I could sign up. I didn't even think there would be any money involved with it or anything like that. I just wanted to help the community, and then I found out and learned a lot of stuff about the fire department. And I like to think I'm a pretty good firefighter nowadays. But anyone can respond to an emergency as long as you're willing to help out and be there. So, like Tracy was saying, the blizzard of 2022, COVID-19, Goderich tornado, Saugeen Shores tornado, even the solar eclipse. These are all potentially impending emergencies that we, in the background, deal with to make sure that they're not worse than they already could be. So for the solar eclipse, everyone's like, well, what would that do to people? Other than people, I like the saying nowadays, common sense isn't so common anymore. That's very, very accurate. So other than telling people not to look directly at the solar eclipse, we're also looking at things like mass gatherings. Niagara Falls they had their emergency operations center up and running because of a mass gathering there, because that was where the solar eclipse was the most vivid. And they were worried about the telecommunications being overrun because of all the people using the cell towers and that sort of thing. So they were looking actually further ahead down the line, where they're like, what if someone can't call 911 because of all the people in there using their cell phones and that sort of thing. So that kind of leads into my next point here, which is, so how do we know and how do we prioritize emergencies or hazards in Kincardine? So there's all sorts of hazards out there. And they go from nuclear facility emergency to fog and everything in between. And then based on likelihood and consequence, that's how we kind of figure out what our priorities are for our hazards in our community. So what do you guys think is maybe one of the top hazards in our community? Dave, you're not allowed to answer this. What's that?
Drowning.
A drowning? It's not, so what would be the cause of the drowning?
Rough water.
What's that?
Rough water.
Rough water, sure, or storm surge or something like that, potentially, yeah. So, and that's something that's very much out in the public, so that, with the drownings that we've had. So that's not necessarily one of the top ones, but it definitely is something that's on our radar right now. I kind of mentioned it at the beginning of this. So the nuclear power, this one always comes up. Okay, nuclear facility emergency. How many of you guys work at Bruce Power? Okay. So what's the consequence of a nuclear facility emergency? Major, right? Major, years and years of recovery, a lot of response, that sort of thing. What's the likelihood of a nuclear facility emergency? Pretty low. So that's where a nuclear facility emergency kind of falls into the middle. Going back to the beginning of what I was saying, we still plan for the worst and hope for the best. Now, what are some emergencies that have pretty high consequence and the likelihood of them happening have happened in and around Kincardine?
Snow.
Weather, snow, yeah, winter storms, right? We had the blizzard. The tornadoes are happening all around us as well, right? I think was it Ontario that they deemed New Tornado Alley? No? Yeah, exactly. So these are things that, and every year we look at our HIRA. So what HIRA stands for is our Hazard Identification Risk Assessment. And when I say we look at it, I don't just go, yeah, you know what, cyber attacks is going to be the #1 this year. It's not like that at all. It's very much a mathematical approach, and we look at all different eyes of our community. So we have what's called the Emergency Management Program Committee. And there's school boards on it, Hydro One's on it, all different voices from the community so we can hear what they are seeing. Then they come back with their HIRA, and then we put all of them together, and then we come up with a list. Then after that, we come up with our plans, we prepare, we practice, and we exercise these plans. Now this is where, and like I said, prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, recovery. I'm very much a prevention-focused kind of guy. I used to do fire prevention, and then I was like, oh, I can look at all emergencies and help prevent those? Perfect, right? This is my town. I consider everyone my friend. It doesn't matter who reached out for help. I'll be there in a second to help you. But what we need is for you guys to help yourselves first. Now, what I mean by that is, like I said, it starts with prevention, and it starts with you. So you have to listen to what is being said in your community by the proper people, and taking that advice and moving forward with it. So how many of you are signed up for Kincardine Alert? Few people. Everyone needs to sign up for it, okay? There's no excuse not to sign up for it. It's free. It's one of our ways of alerting you during an emergency. emergency. It could be before, during, or after based on circumstances. You can go on the Municipality Kincardine website, go under emergency preparedness, and sign up for Kincardine Alert. You can call me anytime, and I will help you do it. If you want to talk to me afterwards, I can help you do it then. But what that program does is it allows me to talk to you. So let's use like this screen here, for example. Say like this is Inverhuron, and we know a tornado's gone through Inverhuron somewhere. We're not exactly sure what it's impacted. I can send a message out to everyone that is signed up in that area and then poll you and see if you need help or not. All of a sudden, if we start getting all these answers back where there's a cluster of people that need help up here, emergency management will prioritize emergency services to go to this area and provide them the resources that they need to start helping you. And then we work out from that. So that's where you guys come into play with not only Kincardine Alert, but being prepared. How many of you were prepared and heeded the messaging during the blizzard of 2022? A lot of you did, believe it or not. A lot of you did, and a lot of you were stuck inside for 2 to 3 days, right? I can tell you from the Kincardine fire perspective, we had one call, and that was to a false alarm, which is insane to me, right? Because we had a number of people, and that could have been in a really bad way during that. EMS was a little busy, but Kincardine, and I gotta give yourself a pat on the back if you can, because you guys really did listen to the messaging and get prepared to stay in. A lot of the people that take care of you as well, I know Tiverton Park Manor, their employees packed bags and planned to be there to take care of the people at Tiverton Park Manor, which I was floored by. It's amazing, like our community is great for that. And everyone around this room, the Kincardine Family Health Team, Century 21, Fit Body Boot Camp, Coldwell Bankers, they are all helping you. They are all doing emergency management. They are helping prevent and mitigate and prepare you for different situations. And I've heard a lot of the discussion about it. These are very real situations, and I hate to see people get caught up in them. And one of the last things I'll touch on here is in this day and age, especially post-COVID, people are very fearful. What I do isn't about putting fear into you so you just lay on the floor in the fetal position in whatever room. It's about risk management. It really is. Everything comes with a risk, right? Everything comes with a risk, and it's managing that and living your best life. The other part of this is get your information from the proper sources. Do not go on Facebook and go to a Facebook group and get your information from that group. It might not be the proper information. It might lead you into a really bad situation. It might put you in a really bad situation as well. And you'll see on the Municipality Kincardine social media, we make sure that when we are posting anything that's emergency management related, it comes from the experts, whether it's Environment Canada, maybe it's the Saucony Valley Conservation Authority, maybe it's Hydro One for a planned power outage. And maybe it'll affect you, maybe it won't affect you. But we are looking at the community as a whole, and we have to help each other and be neighbors. Because I've always liked the saying, Kincardine, where you're a stranger only once. Truly grown up with that, and anyone who anytime needs help, I'll always reach out to them and give them a hand. And that's what I'm asking you guys today is, if you need something, because emergency management and emergency preparedness is very much personalized nowadays. How many of you have heard of the 72-hour preparedness kit? Okay. How many of you think that there's people out there that can't actually, are living paycheck to paycheck or trying to put food on their table for one day? Right. The food bank is like very overwhelmed. A lot of people use it. So emergency management is very much personalized nowadays. So I'm asking you to talk to me and talk to the people around this room and get prepared for potentially any eventualities that might happen to you, because they definitely could happen to you. But go out there, have fun, and get prepared for things. And if you have any questions, feel free to talk to me at any time. Thank you so much.
That was wonderful. Thanks so much, Shane. Really appreciate that. So our next speaker comes from Community Living Kincardine District. Her name is Jane Hoy. Now, Jane had originally retired, and she was brought back by Community Living for a project to research resources and gaps for seniors in Kincardine and area. So her title is the Community Engagement Facilitator for Community Living. So you know a little background. Community Living has been exploring what supports and services are in place in Kincardine and the area for people 55 plus to age in place. She and her team met with people and organizations across the community. They analyzed grassroots data, reviewed published provincial and local reports, and have identified several support gaps. Today's presentation is going to summarize findings to date, share with you what the community is saying, and open the floor for further questions and recommendations. Jane looks forward to hearing from the community their thoughts and experience about what is working, what is not working, what they are pleased about, and what they are concerned about. This will add to the rich discourse that is happening across Kincardine area about how and where one chooses to age in their own community. Whatever is created to support seniors will also be effective in supporting all abilities. Once again, an all-inclusive approach to solving challenges. And I'd like to invite up Jane Hoy.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I should say that one of the things that when I'm talking about what I'm learning, what I'm finding, one of the things that will come up in probably every single gathering that I'm with is whether people will ask for help or not. And so, with this technology here, I thought I'm going to go ask. And so thank you, Nadine, for helping with that. So this is our presentation for today. And you'll find on your table, and if you haven't been over to our table over in the corner, there's a card that really kind of summarizes what it is that we're going to be heading into. So this, as was said, I'm returning from retirement, 18 months. Had to get my legs and hips back under me again from sitting at desk and all of that. And I'm a full-time caregiver for my mother who's 93. So in that time, living with dementia, Alzheimer's Society, did all the training. There's amazing, amazing resources and training and supports to really learn. But what has sort of kept moving up the scale for me is brain health. And so that's a part of what we've been hearing. All of our other presenters actually really touched on that. So that's where we're heading into in terms of our bodies, our brains, and what is really the impact if we're looking at reducing isolation and loneliness. So those are two things that really have been identified as being critical. So our age group, the 55 plus, loneliness and isolation. Next age group, age 18 to 26. So it's pretty interesting in terms of course, then we pile on the pandemic, all of what came out of that, and we're really just starting to come out of that. So the conversations that I'm having around that and the impacts and what we can do with that as a community. So what is new is Community Living would like to be able to provide, and will be providing these supports and services for people 55 plus. So what we were able to do is when we went out, as was mentioned, we asked. So I would invite you to think about that. In Kincardine area, as we're aging in place, what's working, what's not working, what are you pleased about, what are you worried about? So those are just kind of some real reflection questions. And when I met with the group and we went through that, what came out of that was a series of talks around seniors taking charge. And so some of the topics that came out as the priority, power of attorney, insurance, supporting our neighbors. We heard that having friends is critical. That safety is important, what resources are available, and then next steps. So there's some other topics that we'll be organizing and presenting in the community in the coming months also. So these conversations are really gaining traction. And of course, this is an audience that totally understands what this is about. You know, and to begin imagining possibilities and next steps. And one of the things that I've heard is that there's the usual transportation, housing, cost of living, those always come up as a concern. But once you kind of get back past that piece of the conversation, there's others. So what if? What if someone has a stroke or a fall? What if diagnosed with cancer or dementia? What if we lose our license? One of the great quotes that I heard was, life is great in Kincardine as long as you're healthy. And we know that it can be in a moment that life can change, and you're catapulted into a whole new reality. So in other countries, they have, and they're referred to as different things, like an aging coach, an aging mentor. So as soon as you hit a certain age bracket, this is someone who comes in and just begins helping you navigate this new sort of phase in our life. And so that's what we're really thinking about, being able to provide that support and service around being able to age in place. Because when that, suddenly life is different, what about that? And so those are the areas that we want to address. So what do we have? We have each other. So out of the University of Waterloo, there's a Regional Institute on Aging, which actually is very close. Waterloo is close. So I was able to go out to Ottawa. They sponsored a conference that was around changing the culture of aging in Canada. Excellent, excellent breakout rooms. One of the breakout rooms that I really enjoyed was titled Expert by Experience. So that can be all of us, right? It doesn't matter on our academics, our training, our learning. Because we are having this experience, we automatically are able to speak to this. And so we have lived experience. So really building on that, and what they're doing is more work around, they're called naturally occurring retirement communities, which are NORC for short, which I jokingly say sounds like a sinus infection, but it's like, how do we have these networks? Most of them are in high-rise buildings. Well, that's not us. We're rural. We're more based on networks. We're more based on these smaller pockets up. So what we're really looking at is building these intentional networks with purpose. And what I'm hearing more and more is that there are people who do have networks, and they do have friends, and it's strong, but there's also people who don't. We heard earlier, there's someone who has moved to this community. My mother is very, very shy. I didn't know she was so shy. But then when my father passed, who's the gabber, guess where I got those genes, it made a big difference. She will not go to anything. However, if you invite her, she'll go to everything. So it's like, oh, so this art of invitation, right? This way of reaching out. Because we tend to have, if we are in a strong friend group, amazing. Do we keep that going? Of course. But is there a way that we as neighbors and in community, we can begin to look outward? We begin to think, who's missing? John Lord, who won the Order of Canada, has done a lot of work around belonging. And one of the things that he says is that you know when there's belonging when you're missed. So you're a part of a card group, a reading group, whatever, you don't show up, somebody's going to call in on you. So then I got thinking, but do we look around the room and say, who is it here today? And who could have been? And why aren't they? Like, it was because they felt shy. This is a big room. There's also people, I've been in a group and it's like, okay, we've got 6 people in the room. If one more person comes in, I'm gonna leave because I live with post-traumatic stress syndrome. And when there's too many people, I can't do it. I've also heard one-on-one conversations happen about a particular experience, and the conversation is rich and it's important. Another person walks in the room, the conversation stops. So how do we have a sensitivity to these subtle nuances of how we are with one another, but then really sort of learn from that and create culture and environment where we can reach out, where I can make that invitation, that I do pay attention. So that's where we're headed in terms of being able to look at leveraging these networks with purpose. You know, because one of the things that they talk about out of Waterloo is they're intentional. That word really caught my eye. You know, we can go through life, but if it's intentional, that makes a difference. So that's what we're going to be looking at more and more, is about these networks with purpose. So if you look at the card that I had mentioned, sort of this card here, the supports that we're able to provide is there's 3 sort of pillars that we're going to be building our program on. And this is around health and wellness. So this can be speakers, education, you know, I hear about this over there, I hear about this over there. What about in Kincardine? And someone asked, you know, where would those be? And when would they be? And it's going to be a very organic approach in terms of being like nowhere specific, but everywhere. You have a group, then we can come do a talk. It may be at the Davidson Center, maybe at the Legion. Where else is there space? The library space. Where is it that we also heard today around activities, courses, learning. You know, one of the things that's most important around the brain health is that we need to learn new things, and it needs to be a bit of a challenge. It needs to be kind of hard. So, for me personally, I'm going to learn gaming with my grandson. And do you think I can keep my thumb straight? Like one's the jumper and one's the mover forward. I've got to figure that out, you know? So what are those things that are new and different that just challenge us a bit? The second thing that we'll be working on are these intentional communities. So how do we build networks? As we heard earlier, what's critical in terms of elder abuse? Friendships. So how are we intentional? How do we build these networks? Where are they? Who are they? And then the third is direct support. So one of the things that community living has worked very, very hard at is a lot of training with the staff who work for community living around person-centered thinking and person-centered planning. In the past, there would be a program run and everybody would come to it, which was great. However, not everybody's for everybody. And so how do we flip that around so that each person has their own individual interests responded to? And so we've worked very, very hard at moving and switching things around. So we might be anywhere, everywhere. And that's what we want to be able to know, that this is now a support that can be for people other than just the people who are supported by community living. This is for all seniors, for all capabilities. And no, we've heard from the age-friendly communities. It's like, how do we as a community, anything that's designed for aging will benefit everyone. So to know that we're kind of at the forefront in terms of really making change, maintaining change, establishing, because that's one of the things that I kind of jokingly say, but I really mean it. I love living in this area because you can just do things. Like, you don't have to wait. You know, it's like if somebody has an idea, you grab some people around you, you get it going, and you figure out the rest as you go. And to be able to work kind of in that unknown is okay, to be able to do that. So that's what we wanted to bring to you today, is just to be able to let you know sort of what we've been up to and what's coming in the future. Because we really want to be able to bring this initiative and move this through. So one of the things that I'm just checking my time here, because I'd like to open it to the floor. I've got 5. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So one of the things that we talk about is opening it to the floor. You know, if there's any questions, any comments, and that can be more about gathering, and sort of because we're learning new things that are on people's minds and hearts that don't get talked about a whole lot, but are surfacing. Is there anyone that has a comment, a question? Okay. So what I would like to invite you is, if you wanted to come over to our booth in the corner, get some more information. We also have with us our form for volunteering. We have a lot of volunteers that work with community living, but this may be a whole new area of volunteering that will be developed in terms of us working in our community. So I'd just like to thank you for today, and to know that there's going to be more and more happening in Kincardine around aging in place and being able to offer those services for 55 plus. So thank you so much.
Jane, thank you so much, and to Community Living Kincardine District, thanks for all the good things you do in the community as well, too. We're always happy to support. So I will tell you that we have one more speaker, and right now he's fighting his way down Highway 9 through all the construction traffic. Good thing, he's OPP, so if anybody's going to get here on time, it's going to be bad. So we thought in the meantime we'll juggle things up a little bit and draw the rest of our prizes that we have here. We still have a half a dozen or so left, so if you want to get your tickets out and ready. Stay for this, it's so important. Our final presenter of the day is Constable Matthew Thorpe from the South Bruce Detachment of the Ontario Provincial Police. Constable Thorpe is already becoming a very familiar face in his new role in Kincardine. He knows too well how clever fraudsters and scammers can be when trying to separate you from your hard-earned money, and is here today to help you recognize scams and frauds and keep your money in your pocket where it belongs. This message is always timely, and we thank Constable Thorpe for making the time today to join us. Constable Thorpe.
Thanks very much. Let me know at any point if you can't hear me. If you can't see me, I can stand on this. I forgot my box at home today. But today I'm going to talk about something that I hate a lot, and that's frauds. Why I hate them? Up until a couple of weeks ago, I was still working shift work, taking calls, working the road, all that kind of thing. Now I've taken over as Kevin Martin's position. You may be familiar with him. So they call me New Kevin. If you forget my name, it's just New Kevin Smith. So now I'm in the role of more proactive information giving, that kind of thing. And like it was just said, I'm trying to keep the money in your pockets, okay? So why I hate frauds in comparison to any other call that we do. If you call us up and say, hey, the guy down the street stole my bike. Well, that's easy enough. Who's the guy? We'll go arrest him. We'll get your bike back. It might be spray painted or have one wheel missing, but we'll get it back. Frauds is kind of a different story. You call us up and say, yeah, someone called me claiming to be TD Bank or Meridian. I'll use Meridian. And you know, I sent them $500 because they said I owed it after taxes or something. Okay, well, who did you send that email to? Well, it was blah, blah, blah at Gmail. Okay. Where do we get started here? There's a lot involved in a fraud investigation, and just personally speaking, a lot of the results end up in India or Dubai or wherever it may be, and that's where our trail runs cold, unfortunately. I'm not going to point any fingers here, but 9 out of 10 fraud victims happen to be senior citizens, unfortunately. But, you know, you grew up in a different environment, different way of life, where you were more trusting. So back in the day where you might be concerned about the door-to-door salesman selling you a broken vacuum cleaner, that's not really what they're doing these days. Scammers are getting more and more intricate as time goes on. They've got full call centers set up, and their sole career is based on taking people's money. So they have scripts that they work off of, and they're using different methods every day, different schemes to try to convince you to send them stuff. So just a bit of statistics based on our last few years here just locally. In 2020 we had a spike of 210 fraud occurrences, dropped off a dozen or so over the following years. And back in April, I ran the numbers again. We had 74 reported frauds with $260,000 lost. So since then, you can only imagine what's taken place over the past few months. Different types of scams. Any audience participation would be helpful here. Anyone been targeted in a scam? I'll just go close. What's your name?
Sure. No, I was not targeted. I know a friend just in the last few weeks was going to send $80,000 to help with pornography. They had him convinced that his $80,000 was going to help some Mexican thing. And he was going to write a check for $80,000.
And did he?
No, he did not, but it's
Good.
a lot of us. They had it right.
Yeah.
Because they tell you not to tell them. But yeah, and then they were on the phone with him 3 times a day. Or at least 2 before we had a talk with him.
So you mentioned something really important there. Is the scammer said, don't tell anybody. That is how they're getting into most of your wallets. They're building trust, and they're getting you to avoid any family contact. Don't go to the bank because they'll freeze your accounts. They're extorting you that way. I'll speak personally. I had a family member recently fall victim to fraud. They sent $20,000 of Google Play cards, believe it or not. She had a PayPal account set up where she received a phone call. They seemed legitimate, saying they're from PayPal, your account's been compromised, but to reverse this, you need to send us this amount in Google gift cards, believe it or not. Now, they said that same line, don't tell anybody, because they're going to disrupt your service in your banking institute, and they're going to freeze all your accounts. So she didn't. She didn't ask, the police officer that's in her family or anything like that. So the moral of the story, like I get that I'm in the middle of things here, but as I leave you today, just validate everything. I would rather you call the police station every time you're suspicious of a phone call you receive or an email you receive than to get that phone call a week later and you've already sent $10,000. Identity theft. Yes, sir.
They will shut down your bank.
It's very possible that they will out of protective measures in case that scammer has already.
So the threat is true. What they claim.
It's true, but not in the way that they're trying to. Not in the way that they're trying to convince you of. Because they're trying to represent themselves as these financial institutions, right? What the banks are doing by doing that is just flagging your account for any suspicious activity, and that takes a process. So identity theft, you might get a call from someone claiming to be the local radio station saying, hey, don't give us any of your money or anything like that. We don't want you sending anything, but we want to enter you in a prize. You're in a prize draw, right? So they'll try to get some information from you that way. And then you start to think, after the fact, why did that radio station want the name of my pet growing up and the name of my first street and my maiden name? Some things start to not make sense, right? On the flip side of this, and also never give your social insurance number over the phone or over email. But on the flip side of this, you can be as cautious as I'm explaining to you today, and as cautious as you think you're being. But there's also things called data breaches, right? Where places that you may have shopped online, legitimate sources, have people go in and scrape their data banks of your information, and they'll try to use that against you. So as cautious as you're trying to be, it may still result in you losing some of your information. If that does happen, try to keep a log of maybe phone calls you've made where you've given information, or emails that you've sent out giving your information. Make a police report and call your financial institutions. Try to avoid using public Wi-Fi. I get that probably this building here has public Wi-Fi, but just out of an abundance of caution. Common scams like the CRA scam saying, you owe us this much, or we've overpaid you, or something like that. I wish the CRA would often overpay me. It doesn't necessarily happen. Telemarketing scams, those are something that probably everyone's familiar to by now. Just some statistics, oddly enough, 67% of victims of fraud over 60 are women. I'd like to venture a guess that that's because they live longer than men, because we still, in our 80s, try to climb up ladders and work on the house. Maybe it doesn't go in our favor. Online purchases, that's been one that we've seen locally on the rise. I don't know if maybe you've seen Kijiji posts or Facebook Marketplace, that kind of thing, where it's saying, you know, in an estate sale, for an example, I'm just trying to clear out the garage. I've got this brand new, low hours Kubota compact tractor, $5,000. Well, if you know about compact tractors and the new one, you're not getting one for $5,000. So what they're trying to do there is advertise these high-value items at a substantially reduced cost, and trying to make you be the quick purchaser, right? You want to get that brand new compact tractor first. So what they're doing is they're saying to hold it, I'll need a down payment from you, and then that item never existed. The address they give you to go pick it up is fake, or you go there and some guys answer the door not knowing what you're talking about, right? So that's what they're doing with those. So just be very cautious about the deal that seems too good to be true, because it often is. A bit more of what I was just talking about. Puppy scams, we don't see those too often anymore, where, you know, there's a litter of puppies being born. 2 weeks from now, you need to give us $200 to hold your deposit. But it's not something we see too often these days. Just be very cautious buying motor vehicles online. Rental scams, that's big in the GTA right now, because there are places to live in few and far between. Phishing scams, that's when you're going to receive emails and stuff like that. Say it's going to be a completely legitimate Meridian Bank letterhead. Everything looks legitimate, but then there'll be some things that look a little off, and maybe the email isn't from John at Meridian, it's from John at Gmail or something like that. So nothing's stopping you from going to your financial institution and confirming things if something seems not quite right. The prize scams, just be very cautious. Nothing in this world's for free. I get that there's some prizes being given away today. Maybe you can trust those. You have my thumbs up on that. But a lot of these, you know, click to claim prize, and that's either going to install malware on your computer, where they're going to say, to get access to your computer again, you need to send us $50, and then, oh, sorry, that's actually going to be $250, and then it's just going to escalate from there. Fake charities, that's the worst of the worst, because you get someone calling you up to make a donation for the Cancer Society, and you think you're doing the right thing, sending $100 to whatever email address they direct you to, and you might never even find out. That's the thing about these charity scams is you're not noticing it missing out of your bank account. There's no weird charges on your credit card. You just assume you made a donation to your local SPCA or something like that, and meanwhile it's people in a call center half the world away just collecting funds. Check overpayment, that goes back to what I was saying about the about banks calling you, or the CRA giving you a call, the fake CRA giving you a call and saying they overpaid you. Same sort of idea. Grandparent scam, that's a big one. Especially, you know, I'm not saying this about anyone in this room, but maybe some even older members of our community that maybe their hearing's going, maybe their mind wasn't what it used to be, and they get a call in the middle of the night and say, Grandma, I'm stuck in jail. They're only giving me one phone call. Like, can you help me out? I need $500 for bail money. And you're going on the other line. William? Is that you? Yeah, it's William. So they're using yourself to get information off of you and building that trust, and then you think you're doing the right thing by bailing your grandson out of jail when really there's no issues. If that call ever comes in and you think, this person said they were in jail in Quebec, and you know what, I know my grandson just left for Quebec the other day. This could be real. Because you gotta think, if they're calling up 1,000 people, and one of those people somehow fits the bill on what they're saying, then that's a win for them if they can scam that money out of you. Inheritance letter, you might get these by email. So what I was just talking about with letterheads that look somewhat legitimate. They're saying there's something wrong with your bank details or anything like that. You need to rectify it, and they'll draw you in by giving you an email address to email as your contact person through TD Bank or wherever it may be, and then going from there with whatever they're trying to extort you with. Mail theft isn't as common as it used to be. Taking checks out of the mail, getting your banking information through that way. Skimming, pretty common in the GTA, where they install these fake PIN code things outside of, like on the pumps at gas stations, so that when you put your card in, it scans your credit card information. I've never seen it up here to put people's minds at ease. This is another bigger one in the more concentrated areas. So the skimming frauds, they have these little instruments that they carry around that basically acts as a debit machine with, so let's say, $50 charge on it, for example, and they'll go around and they'll tap people's pockets for the debit, how tap's set up on your debit cards, right? I've never heard of this up here, but there is RFID wallets that block that, so that the only way you're going to tap your card is bring it out of the wallet. Protect your pins. That's going to be on every debit machine out there, right? Cover it up. I've never seen anyone actually do it. I've never done it. There could be charges from Dubai on my bank account for all I know. Service scam. This one's rising in popularity. I don't know if you've seen the posts for duct cleaning or car detailing, stuff like that, like driveway paving. Down payment we'll set you up for October the 21st at this time to come do your driveway, and that person never shows up, and it all leads to a dead end, really. And employment scams. That's the ones you'll see where, looking for an employee between 18 and 35 to be able to work Monday to Friday between these hours, online only, for $3,000 a week. Sounds pretty good, but they're gonna, through that contact they make with you, they're going to ask for your banking information for like direct deposit and stuff like that, and get your information that way. And the computer repair scams. If you click on a link you shouldn't have, or a pop-up you shouldn't have, and all of a sudden your computer's doing things that it shouldn't, you might receive an additional message saying, we'll take all this stuff off your computer for a cost, and that's just going to escalate. And romance scams. That one's been going for years and years and years. And unfortunately, they target the elderly community. They may have lost their spouse over the years, and they're building either friendships or online relationships. And 3 months may go by where it's just a cordial back and forth, and then all of a sudden it starts. My car broke down. I need $400 for a tow, and I don't have my wallet on me. Could you wire that to my email? And then it just escalates from there. It's, well, I need a plane ticket to come visit you, so I'll need $1,000. And at the end of the day, when we talk to these people, have you ever spoken to them over the phone? No. Have you ever seen this person in real life? No. Okay. So don't fall victim to this. You know, it's tough being in a position you're in, and given that time period they give it to try to build that trust, it becomes very difficult because it may be a person you talk to more often than any of your family members if you're talking back and forth. But what they do in these call centers, they have a constant line of communication with you. They have different shifts that are working, and they just have a script of all your information so that whoever's on the other side of that keyboard is going to know things that you talked about a week ago with that different person that's working the same desk. A bit of what I talked about with I ran out of gas. I need you to send me $20. So just some things to leave on. Nothing in this world is free. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And don't be afraid to hang up the phone, be rude when something seems fishy. Any personal details, personal documents that you have no need for, just shred them, because you don't know if you've tossed them in the garbage where those end up. And just some other resources for fraud, big one being the Canadian&amp Fraud Center.
Thanks, Constable Thorpe. That is such timely information. We're so glad that you could make the time to get in and see us today. Now, I do have a couple of items I want to mention to everybody before you go. And then we're going to do draws for a few more prizes. Some of our vendors here today are going to actually draw their prizes before you leave today, so hang on for that. First, thanks to everybody for participating today. I hope you got a chance to see all of our wonderful vendors. They are great people in this community. They support the community, and they offer really wonderful products, wonderful information. So thank you to all of them for making the time to be with us today. I want to thank our president, Chris Turcotte, president of the Chamber of Commerce. Chris, give a wave. Tracy Hinchberger, who's been helping with us today, right beside him. Tracy, thank you. He's not here right now. He's off at another commitment, but Mayor Craig for coming in and saying hello to everybody this morning. I think that's really important to see the support of the municipality behind events like this. That means a lot to us, and I'm sure it does to you as well, too. I want to thank our event sponsor, Meridian Credit Union. They're down there. They've been great. Companies like Meridian that make events like this possible because they step up and they cover a lot of the costs that we would incur otherwise or that you would have to cover. So thanks to them for doing that as well. Trillium Court, retirement residence here, another great sponsor. Lake Huron Audiology. And the municipality of Kincardine. And thank you. And thanks as well to our food and beverage sponsors, McDonald's and Watercress Bistro, and prize sponsors Dairy Queen, Godfathers, Ivanhoe, Queen Street, Bookstore, and Watercress again. It's always a good reminder to support our local businesses, because look at how they supported us today and what great fun they gave us. So get out there and support them whenever you can.